Joining us now is the head coach of your undefeated Arkansas Razorbacks. He is a man we have been trying to get on this program for a very long time. We've been trying to ride the Muss Bus all the way back to his Nevada days. His name is Eric Musselman, and Coach, I just said we've been so excited to get you on the show. If I had to describe our excitement having you finally join us on the show, I would describe it as Eric Musselman winning the 2017 Mountain West tournament and taking his shirt off,
yes,
and spinning it around his head,
and just showing it to the crowd.
Hey, and letting your wife sign your chest too.
Yeah. that is what's going through our head right now, having you on the show. I want to start with that. That was probably for Tate and I. That was our introduction to you. Certainly in the college basketball realm, you've been a coach forever, and we can get into that. And you're an NBA head coach, but as it pertains to college basketball, that was kind of your introduction, was winning the Mountain West, taking your shirt. I think that was the first time college basketball fans were like, who is this guy? You seem to have not let off the gas since. You are just a high energy guy. As a guy who's not a high energy guy, how, why, what, where does this come from? Explain to me your secrets.
I'll tell you what. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on, you guys. But I think really, Mark, for me, it was just, having coached in the NBA and having two opportunities as a head coach at a really young age, and then kind of spinning my career in a totally different direction and going college. I mean, the cool thing about being a college basketball coach is being on a campus with other coaches, other sports, being around student athletes. And so I guess as I've gotten older, I've become less old school and more new school and had more fun. When I was a younger coach, I kind of got labeled as being a disciplined coach, overly serious coach. And so I think actually kind of the perception or whatever has kind of been flipped of what it really is. But I like to have fun on social media. My audience is high school guys, and so I might embarrass my wife. I might embarrass my two sons in their 20s. I know I embarrass my mother. But I'm not really worried about any of them. I'm just worried about how can I connect with the high school guy.
There is a vitality, a juice that is in college sports that you don't find at the professional ranks, and I think that's why we love it so much, and obviously why you love it so much, right?
Yeah, I mean, just the environments of a college. Like, I love going to college football games and mingling with our fans. And
you got Sam Pittman, you got Yes Sir there. That's a great time.
We do. Yep. I mean, to me, it's awesome to go into the student section of a college football game in a normal environment, when you're not in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
The one thing, though, Tate, I think it would be arguable whether I actually coached the Kings or not. I know there's a lot of fans in Sacramento that did not think I did any coaching when I was with the Kings.
We call them haters on this program, Coach. We just toss them to the side. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. I like it.
So yeah, part of your pitch, we've talked about this too, is these recruiting pictures that you do with guys, which can you go over? I'm trying to remember the one, the big one that caught our attention was when was it Kalen Robinson? You did the picture of Tyronn Lue, Allen Iverson stepping over. We should point out he is a freshman on your team now, so it worked, right? And also I remember you did the Manute Bol, Muggsy Bogues one.
And that was with Jalen Williams, who's here as well.
Who's also here. So I guess I don't even have a question. I just want to point out that people that might be hating on you saying you're trying too hard or your appeals to the youth aren't working. They are. You're landing these recruits, Coach. I want to talk a little bit about your winding path to get here. First of all, you've had in college basketball, there's so many coaches, especially the legendary coaches that have been at their schools for a million years. Coach K, Boeheim, Tom Izzo, the list goes on. You are the exact opposite. You have been bouncing around forever. You are the son of a longtime legendary coach who kind of had the same thing going on where he bounced around a lot. So I guess my first question, Coach, you were born in Ohio, but where would you say you're from? Because that is important to me. I want to know where guys are from. Where do you say that you are from if someone asks you that question?
Titus, that's the easiest question ever. San Diego, California, man. There's zero doubt. And it's funny because my dad left the University of Minnesota, went and coached the San Diego Sails. They only lasted 4 or 5 games. They folded really quickly. It was the year before the ABA and NBA merged, and the owner of the San Diego Sails had gotten word that they would not be one of the 4 teams in the merger. So they folded. My dad then really quickly got a job as the head coach of the Virginia Squires in the ABA.
Oh, I love it.
And my mom put her foot down and said, we are not moving out of San Diego to follow your dad around coaching. So my mom and I stayed in San Diego, and then I went to the University of San Diego for college. So the perfect day for me is eating a carne asada burrito from one of those small taco shops on Mission Beach, and me being able to ride my beach cruiser around for a couple hours. That's like the perfect day for me.
How much of your dad's influence lives through you, I guess, would be my question with various things.
I think really, Titus, like if you lined up the 2 resumes or bios or whatever you want to say, it's eerie how similar. I mean, the only difference really was my dad started off at the collegiate level before he went to the pros. And he was a big influence on me going into the pro game early. So when I graduated from the University of San Diego, I went and worked for the LA Clippers selling tickets, which I'm going to tell you right now, the hardest job in the world was selling tickets for the LA Clippers in 1988-89. That was like the worst job ever. Like no one was buying a ticket. You couldn't even give a ticket away to a Clipper game. But our bios are really, really similar, and our minor league winning percentages are like 0.3 different. So it's really wild how similar our paths were. But he was my idol. He was my best friend. I got to work with him with the Timberwolves, which is one of the greatest experiences ever, to be able to sit next to your dad and work with him. Although I found out how truly crazy he was by working with him, but it was an awesome experience. And now having my son work for me, both at Nevada and Arkansas, is really cool as well. But, you know, that winding path and taking other jobs, I've always looked at, you know, challenges. I loved coaching the Dominican Republic national team. I loved coaching the Venezuelan national team. It was awesome coaching the minor leagues, the G League. Anything could happen, but there was never a boring day. And so I wouldn't trade the way that my career's gone for anything. I love all the experiences that I've had.
You just mentioned that you coached the Dominican Republic national team, which I think I would dare to say that 99% of our listeners had no idea that was a thing. But they do know that John Calipari also coached Dominican Republic
for Carl
national
Towns,
team.
yeah.
His move when he did it is he got Carl Towns, as Tate said. He cut if I remember correctly, Charlie Villanueva was like a 10-year NBA veteran. John Calipari cut him from the team to put 16-year-old Carl Towns on there, and then Carl Towns went to Kentucky. So that makes sense. Why did you do it? Why did you coach Venezuela, Dominican Republic?
Who did you cut and who did you sign?
What NBA player did you bench?
Well, since you guys brought up Coach Cal, the truth is I actually coached the team the year before Coach Cal took over. And Coach Cal called me, and I already had a contract to coach the DR team that third year it would have been for me. And Coach Cal said, hey, can you do a little write-up on all the Dominican guys that you had the year before? And I said, well, why do you want them? And he said, well, coaching the DR team. And I said, well, I got a contract in my email inbox about 3 weeks ago. And Cal said, no, I'm coaching the team. So that's how I found out I was not being brought back. And then real quickly, Venezuela hired me. And the very first tournament we were together at, a lot of those, you know, the teams all eat in the same, you know, dining hall or whatever. And I look over and Cal's at a table with some 6'10" dude that I didn't have the year before. And then I found out, oh yeah, that's Karl Anthony Towns. No wonder he wanted to coach that team.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, what a story. And Coach, to piggyback off that a little bit, I want to ask you just about the coaching fraternity, because Titus and I, you know, we see all these guys are all interconnected. I mean, if you go through your tree, I think you worked for Mike Fratello and Lon Kruger, who's now at Oklahoma, and Doc Rivers, who's obviously on the Sixers. And you have the 5-star connection with your dad. And, you know, there's the Hubie Browns of the world. And Coach Calipari was there. And just when you look at the landscape of college basketball and all these coaches, how much do you feel like one, it is a fraternity and you guys are all connected, and two, how much of a responsibility is for you guys to kind of pass that, that knowledge, that torch on to the next generation, because we all need that basketball knowledge to be passed on somewhere. And you guys seem to all be from the same, kind of basis, of understanding of the game at some level.
I think it's really important, Tate. Like, my career, really changed when I got to work for Chuck Daly in Orlando. It was Coach Daly's last year coaching, and he was 69 years old, and he was really coaching the coaches more than he was even coaching our team. But it took one phone call from Chuck Daly to the Golden State Warriors ownership to get my foot in the door. And he changed it by also introducing me to people like Mike Fratello, and then Mike Fratello had coached Doc Rivers. And so that's how I got to work for, three legends. It was Coach Daly, and then Coach Daly to Coach Fratello, the czar, the telestrator, and then to Doc. And I think that for me, actually, in the college game, I feel a little bit of an outsider because so much of my career was in the pro game. And I've only been a head coach at the collegiate level now for 5 years, which is really, really short when you start talking about the people that I'm competing against on a nightly basis in the SEC. I mean, these guys are legends. They've been a part of college basketball, for a really, really long time. I feel much more of a connection with the NBA coaches. But when you start talking about passing the game down, think about, the way that European basketball is now influencing U.S. basketball. And it all started by people like Chuck Daly, Hubie Brown, Mike Fratello going overseas and doing clinics many, many years ago. And now actually the coaching probably over there is better, but they learned from a lot of the American coaches who were willing to share and do coaching clinics overseas and abroad.
All right. We've put this off long enough, Coach. We've tried to just kind of ease our way into this conversation. I can't. The time for pleasantries are over. We have to get to the real reason that you're on the show, which is that you tweeted the other day that the Arkansas men's basketball program has what you are calling the charge wall, where you take pictures of guys as they're falling over backwards and you post them on a wall. And the reason this caught my attention, a lot of people were tagging me in it because I am on a mission to get rid of the charge. We have to hash this out, Coach. So, like, you obviously love the charge. Do you are we sure? I guess my question is, are we sure? What is it about the charge? Why do we have a charge wall?
So first of all, Titus, the truth of the story, in the 4 years that I played college basketball, I probably never took a charge. First of all, I wasn't in the game long enough to take a charge, but there's no way I was putting my body in front of anybody to take a charge at 5'7", $140. So that was out the window. I actually agree with you. And I think that to make the game cosmetically pleasing, I don't like the charge because there's just too much uncertainty. Is he outside the charge circle? Is he? I think when they added that charge circle, it convoluted it. However, we do have the rules that there is a charge. And so for us, from a weak side defender or a guy that's two passes removed from the ball, because Coach Tom Thibodeau and I are really good friends, and the whole base of his defense when he was with Boston as an assistant for Doc, and then when he was with the Bulls and the Timberwolves, they played such great weak side defense, and guys were so pulled in that it was hard to score. So the charge wall has not been a part of my career up until about 3 weeks ago. And the reason we started it is our first 3 games, we did not take a charge. It was 7-0. Opposition had drawn 7 charges. Arkansas had 0. So I started this charge wall to, I thought maybe if we put their pictures up there, they'd get a little bit more excited about taking the charge. So I know the social media stuff, like, I hate to be soft and back off, but I really agree with you. I just can't tell my team.
But isn't this part of the problem, Coach, is that because I don't fault the teams, the coaches, the players, whatever, for basically exploiting a loophole, which is how I see it. Is like the rule says you can get the ball back if you do this, so we should probably do that and get the ball back. But how are we ever going to fix this in college basketball? Because you're a guy who coached in the NBA. You know what like high level basketball looks like. What can I do? What can Tate and I do to make sure that like those sorts of plays start happening and less of the like guys like throwing their shoulder and then kind of falling back at a weird angle. Like, we don't want to see any more of that.
I don't blame you guys. Just keep doing what you're doing because word's spreading nationally what you guys are putting out. But the verticality thing is so important in the NBA game because the game happens so quickly. You can't be worried about the charge circle. And you know, I mean, European basketball, they flop a lot. They take a lot of charges. But yeah, I think that there's so many, like for me, the charge rule, why don't we have 4 quarters like everybody else in the world does? Women's college basketball has it. The G League has it. You know, everybody's got it except men's college basketball. And my opinion is there's a lot of older coaches that have a lot of weight in the college game, and they don't want to go with change, and therefore the rules stay the way they are, which a lot of them are archaic, to be honest.
I was more prepared to fight you, Coach. I really was. Like, I thought you were going to be.
I think this
really
turned out great.
This turned out well. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all on the same side here.
All the rules that the NBA have, I actually think the game is more pleasing to watch, more cosmetically pleasing to the eye, and I think that's what the NBA does a great job is constantly talking about rule changes that maybe benefit the offense a little bit more to create more scoring opportunities. And, you know, I think that at the end of the day, this is still an entertainment business. And so what makes the game the most entertaining to me is always in the best interest of the players and coaches and fans.
Just not the James Harden step back. That's a travel. We can't have that in college. My dad will have an aneurysm if he watches guys with the James Harden step back getting away with that. Before we let you go, Coach, you guys are 7-0, as I said at the top of this interview. You're playing good basketball, but also we'll say your schedule hasn't exactly been the strongest, which I don't say is a slight. I say it more as like people listening probably haven't watched a lot of Arkansas basketball this year because you're not. You know, you haven't had like a game that's like, we must watch this game. So give us the scouting report a little bit. Like what are we going to see when the SEC season kicks off? SEC has some surprise teams. I mean, Missouri's playing really well. Kentucky's kind of nosedive, but Tennessee's good. You guys are certainly undefeated. So when we turn on our TVs, we see undefeated Arkansas versus maybe Missouri or Tennessee. What are we going to see from the Razorbacks?
I think that's a great question, Titus. We're still trying to figure out who we are. When we went into the schedule, our thing was we had an opportunity to play 8 non-conference games, and then the 9th being at Oklahoma State in the SEC Big 12 Challenge. And so our whole thing was, how do we limit travel? How do we get as many games in, meaning not have cancellations? Because we did not want to be a team that was on pause due to COVID, and we wanted to do the best we possibly could. So I think we're still a work in progress. We have, 4 freshmen that were a top 10 recruiting class. Those guys, just as any freshmen, are continuing to try to figure out roles, and we're trying to figure out their game. And then we have a couple of guys that sat out last year, and 7'3" Connor Vanover and JD Note, who's a scoring guard. And then we have 3 grad transfers. And so we're trying to kind of mix all these guys together. And we're certainly a work in progress. We're not a finished product, but, we got one more non-conference game, and then we head into conference play, and we'll find out really quickly how good we really are.
Absolutely. Coach, one last thing before we let you go. I have to ask you, because 2018 was a special tournament for Titus and I. We were fully locked in, and we were all about the memes. Like, we had the muscle meme, which was obviously your entire family and your daughter especially. And then we had Sister Jean, a.k.a. Sister Meme. You guys met in the Sweet 16. It was this joyous moment of, push comes to shove. What can we do here? We obviously sided with Muscle Meme. Have you thought about Sister Jean? Have you seen Sister Jean since? Was it just a flash in the pan moment? That was my last thing that I had to ask you before we get out of here.
Well, my daughter, I'll tell you a quick story if we got time. Right when we lost in the Sweet 16, we were getting ready to go to the Final Four, a couple weeks later, whatever, a week and a half later. And my wife said, "Hey, I need a picture of you." And I said, "What do you need a picture of me for?" And she said, "Well, for a media credential." And I said, "What do I need a media credential at the Final Four?" And she said, "Well, the only way you can get in the back with your daughter is with the media credential." So I said, "Hold up. So you're telling me that I just coached in a Sweet 16 game, and now I got to have a media credential for my 7-year-old daughter as she works for March Madness?" interviewing all these people. So my daughter capitalized on our Sweet 16 run way more than I did. She actually interviewed Sister Jean. They became friends.
Yes.
And one of the my daughter wears to bed at night is still a free shirt that Sister Jean had given her from that Loyola game.
Oh,
that's
my
amazing.
God.
We love to
Wow.
hear that. We love to hear that. Love to hear that the connection is still there, Coach.
Yeah, we need to we need another Mariah Musselman moment though. I mean, like
Yes.
that was nice and all, but we gotta go on this another run, Coach.
It's
We
a
gotta
Final
get the-
Four run
We
this
need
time.
the update. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need I feel like her and who was it? The Northwestern crying kid and like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
need like some updates. So we need Mariah. We needed a great run from
All the
Arkansas.
mascots of March Madness.
I had two other questions before I go. We talked about all the stops you've had and your recruiting strategy and all that. Who is the one guy that you coached or was your assistant that along the way that people forget that you coached? Or I'm picturing myself where you're recruiting someone and you're saying, yeah, I coached this guy, and then the recruit's like, what? You coached that guy? Who's the guy? Because Tate and I, we kind of have an idea of your career, but it's hard to follow all the twists and turns. So who's the guy that like people have no idea that you coached like way back in the day or whatever else?
I mean, on a recruiting visit, the guy that's the most entertaining to tell the stories about, for sure, are Ron Artest, now known as Meta World Peace. So, I mean, I can kill a 3-hour recruiting dinner with Meta World Peace stories and have people on the ground dying laughing. That's easy.
All right.
But then
That's a great answer. That's a
There's
great answer.
there's a lot of other guys too, I think, that have their own story. Like, a lot of people don't know that I had coached Jeremy Lin right before the Lin Sanity story took off in New York. He was playing for me with the Reno Bighorns, and Danny Green played in the backcourt with Jeremy Lin on that same team. And obviously Danny has now been a part of not one, but several NBA championships. So I could go on and on. I mean, having been an assistant coach with Pau Gasol, there's some great stories about him. And people don't understand, like when I was with Orlando, we had Penny Hardaway, Horace Grant. I got some great Ronnie Cycli stories. So just a lot of guys, a lot of really good stories. Some stories just for the recruit, others for parents. Some parents can't hear. A lot of good stories.
That's what I mean. You must be the most networked guy in basketball. Just all the stops you've had and all the people you've coached with and coached. It's just, I don't know. It's awesome. My last question is this, Coach. How can we've been on the Must Bus for a while, as we said. Basically, the moment we saw you take your shirt off when you won the Mountain West, and I said to myself, my God, if he's gonna do that when they win the Mountain West, what's he gonna do if they make the Final Four? Because that is terrifying to think about. Ever since then, we've been on the Must Bus. You're now at Arkansas. How can we help? What can we do to help with this? I feel like Arkansas, you guys have a good thing going. You won as a program. I mean, you won a national title in '94. But it's been a while since then. We're trying to like reinvigorate this. I was looking up the alumni of Arkansas. Sneakily, one of the great alumni bases in terms of money.
Jerry Jones. You even got stars like John Daly, and now little John Daly's going to be there.
You got the
soon.
Walmart family, the Tyson Foods family, like the Dillard department. Like, there's a lot of money that could be pumped through here. I'm just trying to connect the pieces, Coach, and I'm trying to figure out where Tate and I fit into this. How can we help the Must Bus? You just let us know.
Yeah,
we're here to help.
We're here anytime you need us, Coach.
Well, it is interesting because I live in a little golf, the Blessings, which is owned by John, Tyson from Tyson Foods. And so there is a lot of great boosters here. Without JB Hunt's here, Walmart. Last night we saw a Christmas special that Walmart had. I'm like, where did this drone Christmas special come from? And it's only in 8 places in the United States. And I'm looking at these cities and looking at these venues, and then ours had an outdoor movie theater, a drive-in movie theater. And so we're privy to a lot of cool things here in Northwest Arkansas.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a great pitch, Coach. That's all we need to hear. We'll sign up whenever.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck to the Razorbacks. The Hog. You call yourself the Hogs, right? There's like is there a pig call? Am I understanding this correctly? Have you figured this out?
Oh yeah, there's a hog call for sure. Yeah.
Can you do it? Can you give us an example? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, basically you go up, you know, gotta go in the first one. It's a big thing. It takes too much time. You got to have rhythm. You got to have some soul.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's 3 times the last one's pig suey razorback. It's a whole big thing.
Yeah.
But our crowd is really into it. You go to a baseball game, it usually happens about 15 times in a baseball game. You go to a football game, it happens about 25 times.
All right.
And then we have the hog call a lot at hoop games as well.
Oh, we love it.
Well, when the world is less crazy and fans are allowed back in, we're gonna come down to Bud Walton Arena and watch you guys
love it.
Upset a very young Kentucky team that looks shell shocked to be on the road in such an environment. Is my prediction. I think that's the game we'll come.
That sounds perfect.
And I got to get both you guys since I'm on Titus and Tate, one of the most awesome shows I could be on. Definitely got to get you guys some Razorback gear. So need that address. We'll get it in the mail ASAP.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Coach.
it,
You're the best.
Best of luck this year.
Thanks,
Take it
guys.
easy.